Bill for, or something like that. Now, I'd be lying through my teeth if I said this interview was live. I caught up with R.E.M. earlier this afternoon in a gap between rehearsals and started by asking them how it felt without Bill Berry on the drum stool, the drummer obviously being the most important member of any band.
Actually, it reminds me of a drummer joke, but I'll save it. Without Bill, it was, everything was different. It was very confusing. We didn't really know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So we went in the studio without rehearsing. Since we had no drummer, we couldn't rehearse. And we got off in the studio and took the basic tracks and the demos that we had and broke it down to maybe one thing like the drum machine or a guitar line or something, and then just built it on top of that.
Because before you'd always sort of written the songs, then gone in and just like set up as you would on stage and start routining them and then go in the studio.
That's right. Now we were actually going to not do that this time, even with Bill, because we wanted to move into a non-drums-based guitar situation.
Yeah.
We're just...
There's not a lot of work for a drummer on this album, is there, really?
Well, there might have been, had we had one, but...
Right, yeah. So how did Bill break the news to you? I mean, was it a big shock? How did he do it?
He wanted to tell us over the telephone.
He didn't want to say it in person.
And why was that? Because he was embarrassed about it?
That's typical Bill.
It is, yeah. But he was also embarrassed.
He was embarrassed, I think.
But he felt badly about it.
He said it. Yeah, he felt bad. He thought it was going to break up the band, or he was afraid that it might.
And did it nearly?
Well, he told us, if the band's going to break up, then I'm not going to leave. I'll just be miserable and keep playing drums. And
that's, of course, the way we'd like to have it. We want to feel miserable at all times.
Yeah. Well, plenty of bands carry on with the miserable drummer for ages.
Right.
But, so the band nearly did break up, or there was never a chance? Not really.
Really. I mean, we actually sat down after the door closed behind him, and we're like, well, should we continue? But we had these 40-odd songs that I'd been driving around for 8 months with a tape, coming up with melodies and lyrics, and I was really excited about them. And I really like making music. It's kind of, as Peter said, my life's work, and these guys feel the same way. And we didn't really want to just hang it up.
Right. And when you started working with the word came out, like from the Papal Enclave, that you were working with drum loops and things, and people thought, R.E.M. going to go techno and everything. And when it comes out, it sounds more like the Young Marble Giants, I think.
Thank you. What a compliment.
Do you like that album, Colossal Youth?
I love it.
We're huge Young Marble Giants fans.
Yeah, genius. Searching for Mr. Right and Wordless Jukebox.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, there was never any dance element creeping into it, Peter.
No.
You made sure of that.
Well, I listen to a lot of dance music, but I just don't think it would be really appropriate for us. I mean, I don't think you can dance this slow. I mean, most of the songs were very, very, very slow. And
I've got mates who'd happily try, I think.
It's like hopping from one foot to the other very carefully. It just can't be done. We were looking for something that was more psychedelic. I mean, that's kind of what I like about dance music, is the way that it combines elements from really different places and kind of juxtaposes them cheek by jowl and gives you something completely new because of that. So that's the idea that I'd take away from that kind of music, not so much the techno beats or the speed of it or anything.
Right. Did you miss Bill in the studio when you got in there? I mean, even accepting you weren't going to have many drums on some of the songs, I mean, was it weird not being the four of you?
Sure.
There was always a place where we would kind of look around and wait for that other opinion, because usually we have four opinions on any given matter, and we only had three, and you'd look around and go, well, where's the dissenting voice on this one? Bill wasn't there.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is said, and I don't know, obviously, that Bill had very much a kind of pop sensibility, and he would make you do more kind of straight-ahead poppy stuff when you would be trying to get more experimental. And I mean, that's just a rumour that I've heard, but this album would suggest that there's some truth in that.
Bill is a pop fan. I mean, I remember I'd show him things that I was writing. He'd always go, the verse is too long, Well, where's the chorus? The chorus doesn't really strike me, He really loved that kind of stuff. And it was all to the good for us, It really helped our arranging and writing and stuff.
Okay.
But without that kind of influence there, it tended to wander a little bit, which I think is fine.
All right, we'll talk more about the new album in a minute. Let's have an old song to kick off. Do you want to pick something from one of the very early albums, Peter? Have you got,
Early?
Well, whatever you like, really. But we've got all the albums here, so do you want to pick something off?
What do you want?
Pick something off, Murray. I want to hear something off Fables at one point. But,
how about Pilgrimage?
Do you want to go with Pilgrimage?
Yeah, that's a great song.
I love that song.
All right, Peter Buck and Michael Stipe ahead of the live gig bit. And as part of R.E.M. Night tonight on Radio 1, Emma B will be presenting a special R.E.M. request show at 9 o'clock after the live gig finishes. We're taking your calls between now and 9 o'clock and collating an R.E.M. selector with you lot introducing your favourite R.E.M. tracks. So if you'd like to request an R.E.M. song, then call us now on 08700 100 100 and choose the studio option once you get through. 08700 100 100. Back to the new album. You had no drummer, but you'd never been exactly rigid about what instruments you played anyway. You'd always swapped about a bit. So it shouldn't have come as too much of a shock.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a shock, but and we've always had these roles as, you play this or that, but we've always messed around with that.
Did anyone else ever go on the drums, or was that always Bill's domain?
I believe I played on song,
Untitled.
on the Untitled song on
Green.
Green.
Right.
I tell you, it was just a life's labor to get that one track. I'm the world's worst drummer. But what actually happened, I was trying to teach Bill a drum beat, and the reason I couldn't teach it to him was because it didn't work. But as I was teaching him the drum beat, he started playing this guitar part that turned out to be Untitled. Mike walked in and started playing it. And we couldn't learn each other's parts. I could not play the guitar part, and so we ended up cutting it that way, and it was a struggle. I mean, I cannot keep a rhythm on the drums to save my life.
Right.
I felt sorry for these guys having to watch me just fumble it time after time after time.
It's a great little song, though.
Yeah. So why have you put the lyrics on the album for the first time, Michael? Is it because all the ones you've written up till now have been rubbish, and you're
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes,
It was actually Mike's idea. We had a really good night in the studio in San Francisco, and I posted the lyrics on the wall to keep myself writing new ones, and so these guys can see, what's going on, or my contribution to the songs. And he was reading them one night, and we'd had a particularly good day, and he just said, these are great. We should print them in the CD. And Peter and I were like, sure, why not? I mean, I don't know that it's really an indication of the new us, as much as kind of that. I think in a way we felt like everything else has just been thrown out the window. Why not throw that one out too?
I mean, why were you reticent about doing it before? Is it because you just didn't like the idea of people poring over them? And
even though the lyrics are all printed here, I maintain that lyrics do not read well off the page. They're written to be sung and heard, not to be read.
And they lead to things like Michael Jackson printing every little ooh and ah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the lyrics.
I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much concern for that here.
I know, but it's all part of the same thing. I mean, it's a road you don't want to go down too often.
It's really true. I try to keep the oohs and ahs to a minimum.
I mean, but you printed them all, so you're obviously proud of the lyrics and proud you stand by them. I mean, is this